No, I'm not sporty. I'm a weak and frail individual, ladies and gentlemen. And I had a reminder recently of what a weak and frail thing my human body is. Last year, I experienced the pain and discomfort of a hernia. Has anyone here had one of those? I was in Edinburgh and I asked this question of the audience. A woman, she'd had a hernia. I said, what did you do to bring it on? And in the most pissed off voice you've ever heard in your life, she just went, I coughed. You've never heard someone so hard done by in all your days. Fucking coughed. It's like her whole life now is one big gamble. Who knows what seemingly innocuous activity is going to bring on the next medical catastrophe. I'm afraid to take a shit in case my eyes fall out. I was moving a compost bin. Because my life is glamour from the time I get up to the time I go back to bed. I was moving a compost bin. I'd like to tell you it was full. It wasn't. For those of you who don't know what a hernia is, incidentally, I don't want to get too technical, but essentially what it is, it's an inbuilt weakness in the tissues that hold your digestive system in place. And if you're 42 and you lift something too heavy, your guts go for a party with your balls, right? That's about it. Yeah, I was moving a compost bin, and I felt, it was a garden composter, okay? And I was relocating it to another part of the garden, and I felt something go, and the next thing you know, I've got what looks like a third ball just next to the base of my penis, and I can no longer pick up my children without crying. So, like a typical bloke, I said, I better get this sorted out. And I waited 4 months. Because it'll just fix itself. It'll put itself right, won't it? Because apparently I'm the fucking Wolverine now. Yeah. I don't know why I think I've got these miraculous powers of healing when I can't even grow sideburns, but this is my thinking. And then eventually I take myself to the GP and she sends me to a specialist who gave me an ultrasound, which I wasn't expecting. It's a perfectly reasonable diagnostic tool, but I wasn't expecting it. And I've been to ultrasounds up until now, but only with my wife. We have 2 children, so I've been to ultrasounds with her. They were very emotional experiences. And suddenly I have this ultrasound sprung on me, and I'm like, well, why isn't she here? Why am I going through this alone? And the other thing, a hernia doesn't have a heartbeat. It's like, is it okay, doctor? It's all right. It's not. It would be weird if it made a noise. He's got the wand there like that. He's got the screen tilted round to me like this, and he's going, yeah, okay, see that? Yeah, now tense. Yeah, now tense again. Yeah, see that? There's your hernia. And the way he said it, I couldn't help myself. I went, can you print that out so I can stick it on the fridge next to the kids? Because that would be funny. Just to have it there, you know what I mean? People come into the house, 3 ultrasounds, 2 children, afraid to ask, you know. Just eventually plucking up the courage and going, who's that? That's Clovis, the hernia. So then he's talking me through it, and I'm worried about how long I'm going to be out of commission, you know, and he says to me, well, actually, because it's keyhole surgery, actually, during your recovery period, you'll be quite high functioning, which I said to my wife, to which she said, well, that'll be a first, because she's hilarious. But he's talking me through, he's going to poke a thing in here and a thing in there, and then he said this to me, right? And I know what he meant to say. What he meant to say was, when you wake up, you'll feel like you've been punched in the stomach. But his exact words, and let me see if you pick up on what I picked up on, because his exact words were, when you wake up, you'll feel like I've punched you in the stomach. Yeah. You know what I mean? There was no need for him to insert himself in that manner. It was almost like he'd been accused of it in the past. Like people have woken up and gone, did you fucking hit me while I was asleep? Shit, I gotta start nipping this in the bud. It was almost menacing the way he said it. You'll feel like I've punched you in the stomach. And partly it was me, since I've hit my 40s, having to be a dick. And partly it was the way he said it. But I went, okay, you won't have though, right? You're not going to do that. And I swear, he said, no, I won't. Not unless you try and get off the table. I swear that's what he said! That's right. All right, he didn't do that. He didn't do that bit, fair enough. But he did say that. Doctor's cracking jokes now. That's great. That's brilliant. You know how happy you'd all be if I suddenly started doing abdominal surgery up here, yeah? Yeah, that's how happy I was when Doc suddenly started cracking wise. And then he said, after a few days, you'll just feel like you've done too many sit-ups. I said, good. I've always wanted to know what that would feel like. What he didn't say, And what I really felt was worth mentioning, what he didn't say was, oh, and 2 days after the operation, you'll sneeze and think you've been fucking shot. He didn't say that. I really thought that was worth flagging up. I thought that was worth a mention, just to take that. Oh, incidentally, the worst part of this entire experience will be the sneeze you do 48 hours after the procedure that'll make you see the fucking face of God. No. Wanted me to find that bit out for myself. So then I go for the operation. I meet the anaesthetist, very important member of the team. And I always remember as a kid, they make you sort of count backwards, from 100 to know when you've gone under. But they don't do that now. I think they think that's too clinical. Now, what they do is they engage you in small talk to know when you've gone under, which is foolish, because I've been known to nod off during small talk. Drugs or no drugs, I have very low tolerance for boring conversation. But there she is. She's got the needle in the arm, my arm, she's a professional, and she's about to go, and she says, what do you do for a living? And I said, I'm a comedian. And then the nurse goes, yeah, I thought it was you. To which I wanted to say, well, I hope you fucking knew it was me, because my name is on the chart. If you only thought it was me, you're not paying enough attention as far as I'm concerned. Did you only think it was a hernia? It's definitely a hernia. But then the anaesthetist turns to the nurse and goes, oh, do you know him? Yeah, I've seen him. Is he famous? Yeah, a bit. Okay. I'll take that. Is he on the telly? I'm right fucking here. And the anaesthetist, she turns back to me, and as she's administering the anesthetic, as she's pushing the plunger on the drug, she says, oh, what's the name of the TV show you're on? And the drug just hits me like a bat to the head, and I go, I don't think I can answer that question. And I'm out. Those are my exact words. I don't think I can answer that question. Which is more words than mock the weak. Why wouldn't you just... What's wrong with you? I don't think I can answer that question. Well, clearly you could have done, you fucking idiot. But the last thing that occurred to me as I was passing out, the last thought that crossed my conscious brain before I slipped into oblivion was not, I hope I survive, or I hope I don't bleed out on the table, or I hope I see my kids again. Nothing so melodramatic. My last thought was, nothing says, I don't care what the name of the TV show you're on is, like asking, what's the name of the TV show you're on, as you're administering an anesthetic. Is there a clearer indication you couldn't give a shit about the answer to your own question than asking it as you're putting the person asleep that you're asking? What's the name of the TV show you're on? Couldn't give a fuck. Couldn't give a fuck. Never gonna watch it. It's like rolling up the window as you're asking someone for directions. It's like, you don't look like you know. And it annoyed me. It annoyed me. And I tell you, it didn't annoy me because I thought she was being rude. She was no ruder than the nurse who took my pulse, looking at her watch the entire time. No, it was rude. Am I keeping you from something, love? The reason it annoyed me is because I had a plan. I had a plan for how my general anesthetic was supposed to go, and she ruined it with her small talk nonsense. Because as soon as they told me I was getting the general anesthetic, again, this is me in my 40s having to be a dick all the time. Because as soon as they told me it was happening, I was looking forward to it. Because I hatched a plan in my head for how my general anesthetic was going to go. And it was going to be a bit of beautiful theatrical situationalist comedy. Because what was going to happen in my head was, as soon as the drug was in, as soon as I could feel the effect of the anesthetic, I was going to grab one of the nurses by the arm and go, the treasure map, it's in the... How awesome would that have been? They would have been talking about that in that operating theatre for weeks to come. But she ruined it with her small talk bullshit. We haven't stayed in touch. We're not friends.